South Alabama's quarterback, Gio Lopez, hits the transfer portal. To quote Pete Campbell, not great, Bob. It's locked on Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We'll get to last week's news here momentarily. Georgia Tech bailed on Georgia State, and now we'll do midweek baseball as well. We'll wait, unless we get more news tomorrow, for, I promised you, Clay Helton from Georgia Southern. We already did that. But we'll post it hopefully for Wednesday. Instead, this major news came down that unfortunately for South Alabama, Gio Lopez has hit the transfer portal to go along with apparently, I want to make sure I get this right because I'm not quite as familiar. Where did the stats go? Troy's Damian Taylor. Is that right? I think that may be right. The running back hits the portal as well. And two things can be happen at the same time. Feel awful for South Alabama. All right. Really looking forward to seeing South Alabama compete for a Sun Belt title. They did it a few years ago. The following year when they were supposed to be good, they didn't. They were rebuilding last year. And Gio Lopez, along with Jalen Rayner, two of the high-flying quarterbacks in the Sun Belt. If reports are correct, all right, and I had reports last year of what Chris was supposed to be paid from the Cajuns, and he was paid nowhere near what he was told he was going to get. So two things that I would advise Gio Lopez, two things. I would make sure I'm getting whatever I'm getting in advance as much as possible. All right. And I would also not give the agent 20%. I would do that. If you don't want 5% of reports have $1 million, I'll find somebody else who wants to take the 5%. You're not getting 20% because some other NIL agents are getting 20%. I'll find the agent who wants to take 5%. And that guy could be my agent if I go pro. It is what it is. So if that is the reports, if those reports turn out to be true, I can't begrudge Gio Lopez for taking $1 million that sets his family up. Again, I have no idea what his family situation is. Very well could be a middle-class family. And all of a sudden now, the house is paid off. Could have brothers and sisters, send them to college, and we're in good shape. All right. It could end up being his nest egg, right? It's only going to be like $600,000. You taxed a lot of money on that, but nonetheless, you got a big time nest egg. He could become from a single parent household. I have no idea. Where all of a sudden now we're moving into a bigger apartment or a home. So that's a lot of money when you're talking about that. I would presume, again, I don't know this, that when he decided to come back to South Alabama prior to the bowl game, they had put together some sort of NIL deal. I don't think South Alabama's got the money for $1 million for a quarterback. Maybe my guy, Kyle McCord, got that for Syracuse, and that's a maybe. That's a lot of money. All right. Now, eventually, this house settlement deal is going to get done, and South Alabama will have $20 million set aside. There's two different things here where the schools will be paying the players, and then you'll have the NIL collectives paying the players as well. So again, this is two different things when we have Gio Lopez cashing in and Nico from Tennessee thinking he had Tennessee over a barrel, making a $2.5 million deal, wanting $4 million, and didn't think that Tennessee would blink. Well, I mean, I guess Tennessee didn't blink. They said, thanks for coming. Now we'll see where he goes. And there's already reports, this is Monday night, that he was looking at Carolina, Tulane, and UCLA. Now, oddly enough, a couple things about that. UCLA is where App State's Joey Aguilar went. That's A. We're not thinking he's going to Tulane. And Carolina is where reports have Gio Lopez going. So Gio Lopez, as my worlds continue to collide, could be playing for Bill Belichick, who's the former head coach of the Patriots. And Carolina is going to play, it's not the Carrier Dome anymore, but whatever it's called, is playing in Syracuse this year. A couple of things. Gio had a fantastic season last year. I do have the stats up here somewhere. In 11 ball games, 2,500 yards, over 25 yards, 2,500 yards passing, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He missed the North Texas game and he missed the bowl game due to a turf toe. He had a fantastic season, and that is why South Alabama was expected to compete not only for the West, but for the Sun Belt Championship. Some big difference going from the Sun Belt to the ACC or to the SEC. Just saying. Wishing him all the best. But a quarter of a step is the difference between getting hit with the ball and getting hit with the ball already released. Those guys are bigger and faster in the other conferences. All right. Damian Taylor also hit the transfer portal, the Troy running back. What a season he had last year. Only 7 touchdowns, but averaged almost 6 yards a carry, 1,010 yards in 12 ball games. Only had 3 catches out of the backfield, which is odd. But obviously that's going to hurt Troy as well. Although I'm a big believer, if you have an offensive line, you can find a running back. Those are more of a dime a dozen to me. All right. But it's a tough blow. And somewhere along the way, again, the NCAA. So where I would blame Nico from Tennessee, can't say his last name, won't say his last name. He's at fault for leaving Tennessee the way that happened. If you want to put this on responsibility on Gio, because someone came and got him, okay. But no one's blaming him for taking the money. Timing stinks. I don't know what he was getting paid. I'm sure he was getting paid something at South Alabama. But you can't turn down this kind of money. But compared to, I saw Ryan Clark blame the NCAAs. I saw Evan Cohen blame the NCAA for the Nico situation. That's on Nico. All right. That's on, he thought he had Tennessee over a barrel, and he didn't. Now he's going to end up in a lesser situation. This is Gio, someone approaching him, offering him a boatload of money. Again, get it in the contract and don't give up nearly as much commission. But somewhere along the way, those Power 5 teams are going to have to pay the G5 teams. You just can't pluck these things with no ramifications. Whatever it is, you gotta pay up some money, which will be a great segue for the next segment. But you just can't. The G5s just can't be a minor league football player-wise for, I guess, the Power 4 schools now. It can't be. So somewhere along the way, that's going to have to be negotiated as well. The NCAA is going to have to negotiate with the players when they can go. I worry about the limit on the money. That doesn't seem legal. But they have to have some limitations on when they can go, how often they can go. It really is. You're messing with such a great thing. And we'll just say Barry Dunning Jr. is a great example of, he's at his 4th school in 4 years. Started out at Arkansas, UAB, blossomed at South Alabama, and is now going to Pitt. All right. I went back and looked. Terrence Edwards actually had very similar, if not better, statistics playing for Louisville in the ACC that he did for JMU. Let's see if Barry Dunning Jr. can do that with Pitt. All right. Because he had a ridiculous season. His three-point shooting percentage overall low because of very, very slow start, but was very good after that. He is a tweener because he's going to play two guard. So he's 6'6". We'll see if that works out in Pitt. At least a two guard in the pros. Probably 6'6". You could be a small forward in college basketball. But another South Alabama transfer portal. That one, though, is coming right after the season. So that's a little bit different. That's very different than, happening, right when you're wrapping up spring ball. All right. And Troy loses a big one again in Damian Taylor. It's rough. This is why more coaches are heading towards the pros than college, because these guys' jobs are on the line. And we thought South Alabama was going to be a contender. And we'll see. Bishop Davenport had a fantastic bowl game, more spectacular first half than second half, but we'll see if he is the guy moving forward. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, something along the same lines, Georgia Tech bails out of a contract with Georgia State. I'll tell you about that right after I tell you about Game Time. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with Game Time, you can be part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it easy and fast to get playoff tickets, even when the demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and that last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. You get those priority last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. And then you can have that all-in pricing, means no surprise fees at checkouts. What you see is what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. This is usually where I would take a drink, but I forgot to get my beverage. Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. And when I say drink, I'm talking like diet green tea, not the good stuff. We're not drinking that, although I probably should during the podcast. That could be a different podcast. For those listening, I have a shelf of bourbon behind my right shoulder. All right, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Last week, the news came down that Georgia Tech was bailing on Georgia State in their home-and-home battle. Remember, last year, Georgia State went to go play Georgia Tech at Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech says, no, we're not going to do that this year. Here's your $1 million. I believe that's what they paid to get out of the contract, which is lame that they can do that. I will say they did pick up, as it so happens to be, they went ahead and scheduled Tennessee. Now, let's see here. This happened last week. The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets announced that the team would be canceling their home-and-home series against Georgia State as the Panthers traveled to Bobby Dodd Stadium last season. But since the Yellow Jackets canceled their since the Yellow Jackets canceled their scheduled road trip right across town. All right. And of course, Yellow jacked up. Georgia Tech made the right decision to cancel the home-and-home series. Okay. Are they really, with all due respect, are they going to lose? Are they really afraid of that? Yellow Jackets did have to pay $1 million, but it's much more than the money for Georgia State. As someone who who covered 6 seasons of Raging Cajuns football and South Alabama football, we got Power 5 basketball teams, or Power 4 basketball teams, whatever they are now, to come in and play South Alabama, Auburn, and Alabama came in to the Mitchell Center. That's fun. All right. And big crowds. Georgia State doesn't draw very much. They played in the old Turner Field, I guess. Old Olympic Stadium that turned to the Braves Field, turned into their field. They would have had a nice crowd. They may have gotten some national exposure. Maybe they win the football game. All right. But obviously, for this case, it's a lose-lose for Georgia Tech. If you don't win by 40, it was bad. If you lose, God forbid, that may end your playoff thoughts right then and there. But it is sad that they did that. Here's your money. We're getting out of it. Hashtag always a bright side. Compared to the players who are leaving, at least Georgia State did get some money out of it. I don't know if they would have been able to make that much money if they hosted the game with everything that goes into that. And again, the amount of exposure that they would have had, and this is this year. This is not like 2 seasons. That's like now. It was supposed to come up. Let me see. Make sure that's true. All right. I believe that would, it was coming up this year, right? And so at least they are getting money out of it compared to the teams that are not. The teams that are not when their players are leaving. So that's not great. Let me see. Maybe I got that wrong. I thought it was for this season, though. Let's see. No, maybe not. Was it for next season? Was it for 26? Oh, they don't have that up yet. I thought it was for this coming season. They are actually playing Ole Miss on August 30th. That could be the day, though, that Southern Miss takes down Mississippi State. Different day. All right. I feel it's nonetheless, whenever it is, it's bad. It's just bad. They just threw money at the situation and what an easy day and a big day for the city of Atlanta to have 2 teams in the city play each other, and Georgia Tech just bails. I think that's awful. Again, Georgia State does get the money, but we see more of this. Play a series in 2024. So it was in 2026. So it wasn't this season. It is next season. The Panthers held up. This is again from Yellow Jacked Up. The Panthers held up their end of the deal traveling to Bobby Dodd Stadium last season, but the Yellow Jackets informed the Panthers that the series would be canceled and the Yellow Jackets would not be traveling to what they call Center Park Stadium next fall. The reason for the cancellation, because the Yellow Jackets announced yesterday that the team had scheduled a home-and-home series with the Tennessee Volunteers for the 26 and 27 seasons. Okay. So what that does is now Georgia Tech is not paying any money out to Georgia State to play the game, I guess. Although they did play $1 million. If you beat Tennessee, great, but those could be 2 losses. I hope Georgia Tech's not on, I presume they've done really well under their coach last couple of years, but I hope they don't need that ball game, which would most likely be a win. Although if you do beat Tennessee, that's obviously a better win than Georgia State. All right, so I was wrong. It's for the 26 season, not the 25 season. But still, not great, Bob. Not great at all. All right, let's take a time out. It's not been a great podcast. Everybody's leaving the Sun Belt. Let's check out midweek baseball. All right, shall we? We will do that when we come back. I think 11 teams are playing tonight. Do that after I tell you about Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track and share personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all of the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Again, Jags, Gio Lopez hits the transfer portal. A little sick to my stomach about that. We'll see where he ends up. I'm certainly rooting for Gio Lopez. I'm never going to not root for Gio Lopez, except if he is playing my Syracuse Orange. All right. And Georgia Tech bails on Georgia State. Not great. Midweek baseball. Now, again, these games are important. It's not just the group of five versus the power five or whatever we are now. It's important to get these wins as much as you can. All right. VCU. I will try that again. Old Dominion is hosting VCU. All right. James Madison is at George Mason. App State at Duke. How about that? All right. Coastal Carolina at Wake Forest. Let me see that one. Because are we going to be, let's see where Coastal Carolina is. Coastal Carolina has an RPI of 8. Wake Forest has an RPI of 21. How about that? Nonetheless, though, if you do win the ball game, that obviously helps you and the rest of the conference. Oh, that was Coastal Carolina. Did I say that right? I think I the schedule's wrong. No, Coastal Carolina is at Wake. App State is at Duke. Where is Duke? Let's see where Duke is. RPI wise. Thought they were pretty good last year. They're 43. So that's not bad either. They're on the bubble. All right. That'd be a nice win for App. The ball game is in Durham. West Virginia is at Marshall. So that's in Huntington. Marshall hosting West Virginia. Hopefully it's nice weather for what should be a nice crowd. Mercer at Georgia Southern. South Alabama is at Alabama State. Houston Christian is at Texas State. All right, let's check out there. Where is Houston Christian? The easiest thing would be to, find Texas State. But I'm going to go from the bottom because I'm not sure how good Houston Christian is. And we're already in the 250s. So they're not as bad as I may have thought. But it's important to win those ball games if you're the Sun Belt. It's not only taking down, again, the big-time teams, but the lesser teams. I'm moving across, and I'm not seeing Houston Christian. So they may be better than I think. I may have been to the point. Oh, there they are. They're 90. All right. They're pretty good. They're 22-12, 14-4 in the Southland. Wouldn't you know it? Texas State's 89. How about that? So that's a nice matchup. Arkansas State is at Southern Illinois. UL Monroe is hosting Louisiana Tech, ULM, and Southern Miss is at Southeastern. So it looks like the Cajuns aren't playing, Troy isn't playing, and there's one more team in there not playing. And this week, due to Easter, and this may be the Tony Robichaux rule, they start the series on Thursday. So 3 teams aren't playing a midweek ball game. Tony Robichaux was a very religious man and loved baseball as much as anything, but despised playing baseball on Easter. Despised it. And I think the Sun Belt eventually decided to move the series up. We're not playing on Sunday, right? Now, all families can't get together. Sometimes certainly players can take care of each other. But you do get that down day to celebrate the holiday, to observe the holiday. That was a Tony Robichaux thing. I'm sure others didn't like it either. My mother, when I was in minor league baseball, just an employee or radio broadcaster, she said, well, what do you do guys playing on Easter? I said, everyone plays on Easter. Minor leagues play on Easter. Major League Baseball plays on Easter. It doesn't stop anybody. Tony Robichaux hated it. All right. And I'm pretty sure they don't play on Easter Sunday anymore because of Tony Robichaux. So, but in this case, the Cajuns do not have a midweek game, nor does Troy. So I guess we can quickly check out the series. You got JMU at App State. All right, so that's a big series for App. Got to take 2 out of 3, if not sweep. Old Dominion in Louisiana, don't seem to be any factors there. Marshall's at Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina is hot. Right, they've won 4 in a row. They did sweep Georgia State. Let's see what they do against Wake. Arkansas State at Georgia Southern. That should be a pretty good series. That is in Statesboro. Arkansas State has some seriously good pitching when we went over that yesterday. Troy is hosting ULM. We'll look for Troy to win that series. Georgia State's at Southern Miss. All right, Southern Miss's RPI has surged, and that has helped the Sun Belt move from 9 to 7. And Texas State is at South Alabama. All right, so those are the series this week. Again, right now, middle of April, smack dab in the middle of April, as it turns out. The Sun Belt is ranked 7th. I guess I could look again. It's going to be really tough to get to higher than conference RPI, higher than 5. They can certainly catch the Conference USA. What do we say? They're 0.3. They are, in fact, it looks like it changed a little bit. 0.5263 to 0.5291. So less than 0.3. I don't know how it changed or why it changed, but it seemed to change from when we recorded on Sunday to when we recorded on Monday. But it is, thousandth of a percentage point, like 3,000th of a percentage point, less than that. All right. The problem is getting to the Big Ten. That's a huge jump to 0.5339. So almost, almost a 0.534. That's going to be tough to do, but they very well could get to 6th. And then you have that little aberration with the independent, which is only Oregon State, which is kind of crazy. It's not that Oregon State is bad. They're the only one listed as independent. Go to warrennolan.com. That's the only one listed as independent, and it's only Oregon State. So they have a rank of 10, whereas some of those lesser teams and some of the conferences, bring it down a little bit, although the SEC is, ranked high, but, Missouri, some other schools going to bring it down. There's nothing to bring down in the independent. They got one school, and it's 10th. So they're the number 1 conference RPI, if you will. All right, so the plan is on Wednesday to play our Clay Helton interview. We are off on Thursday and Friday, so maybe we'll end up with some more interviews. And I guess more than how you deal with the portal, have you made any suggestions on how the portal should be run? And I know you're just concentrating on your football team and doing the best you can for your football team, but someone has to have a good idea on how this is going to end up, because right now it is a mess. The NCAA needs to take responsibility for that. Nico tried to overplay his hand, ending up at a lesser place. Looks like Gio Lopez is going to end up making a lot of money. Again, I hope he gets it, and I hope he doesn't pay out nearly as much as a commission as these guys have been asking for. All right, they should not be doing that. There is no consensus across the board. You can pay what you can negotiate that all you want, is what I would do. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. We did pass the 1,900 mark. Fantastic. Had some more good views yesterday and over the weekend. Really went off on the Tony Gibson transfer portal short, so that was great. Really do appreciate it, you guys. Thanks for all of the support. Please leave a comment. I am happy to respond. You've been watching and listening to Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Have a great Tuesday. We'll talk to you again on Wednesday.